"Tell them I'm your husband," the millionaire said, and his words left everyone in stunned silence. "But before we go on, tell us, where are you from? It's important for us to know how far our stories reach." Megan never imagined that an ordinary Monday would turn her life upside down. But that very morning, as she pushed her cart across the marble floor of the Imperial Hotel's main hall in the heart of New York City, everything changed. It was around 10 a.m., and the lobby buzzed like a hive. Tourists dragging their suitcases to the front desk. Businessmen in tailored suits checking their phones over cups of coffee. Megan, dressed in her gray uniform, blended perfectly into the scene. Invisible, unnoticed, just as a good housekeeper was supposed to be. Then a scream shattered the air, sharp, hysterical, piercing. Megan turned and saw a manicured hand with an enormous diamond ring pointing straight at her. The woman, dressed in a spotless white suit with perfectly styled platinum hair, looked as though she'd just stepped out of a salon. Her outraged voice filled the entire lobby. "There she is. That's her. She stole my bracelet. My diamond bracelet worth several $1,000,000. Time seemed to freeze. The chatter in the lobby died instantly. Dozens of eyes turned toward Megan. Her stomach clenched into ice, her palms slick with sweat. Her heart pounded so loud she thought the entire hotel could hear it. She'd worked there for 6 years, 6 spotless years, without a single complaint or suspicion. 6 years of commuting from her tiny apartment in Brooklyn, waking up at 5 in the morning to make the first shift, cleaning rooms, scrubbing floors, changing bed linens, always staying invisible, just the way it was supposed to be. And now, everyone looked at her like she was a thief. Mr. Peterson, the hotel manager, hurried over, a large man with thinning hair and a perpetually anxious face. His cheeks were flushed, and he was clearly panicking. The hotel's reputation was hanging by a thread, and the last thing he needed was a scandal with a wealthy guest. "Megan, please come to my office," he said quietly, his voice trembling. He took her hand to lead her away. Firm, worked hard to pay rent for her small one-bedroom apartment, sending money to her mother Mary back in Cleveland, who had raised her alone after her father's death. Every dollar she earned came through honest work, scrubbing other people's bathrooms, washing their sheets. And now they looked at her like a criminal. "I'm an honest person," she said louder, her voice trembling with desperation. "Mr. Peterson, you know me. I've been here 6 years, never a single complaint. People like that always say the same thing," Evelyn sneered, scanning Megan from head to toe. "They think they can steal from the rich and get away with it. But not this time. I've already called the police." Tears welled in Megan's eyes, but she clenched her fists so tightly that her nails dug into her palms. No, she wouldn't let them see her break. Not here. Not now. She wouldn't let this woman strip away the only thing she had left, her dignity. She opened her mouth to say something, but then a calm, deep voice echoed through the lobby. "Excuse me, but I believe there's been a misunderstanding." Everyone turned. A man was walking toward the reception desk, and with his arrival, the air in the lobby seemed to change. Tall, about 40, with dark hair flecked with distinguished gray at the temples. His navy blue suit wasn't flashy, but it was perfectly tailored, the kind that clearly cost a fortune. His movements were unhurried but confident, and people instinctively stepped aside to let him pass. There was something magnetic about his presence. He didn't need to raise his voice or gesture. The attention simply followed him. Megan stared at him, completely lost. Who was he? And why was he getting involved? "And who are you?" Evelyn snapped, irritation in her tone. Her little show had been interrupted and she didn't like it. "Adam Brooks," he said evenly, as if that name spoke for itself. Judging by Mr. Peterson's reaction, it did. The manager paled, his eyes widening. He swallowed hard, loud enough for Megan to hear. "Mr. Brooks? We didn't realize you were staying with us," he stammered, tugging at his tie. "It's an honor to have..." Felt like a support, an anchor in the middle of this nightmare. "My wife, and I strongly advise you to be more careful with your accusations. Megan has more honor and dignity in one finger than many people I've met in my life. Certainly more than those who fling accusations without a single piece of evidence." He turned to Megan and their eyes met. There was seriousness in his gaze, but also something warm and reassuring, something that made her believe he would not abandon her no matter what came next. "Don't be afraid," he said softly, just to her. His voice was like a warm blanket on a cold night. "It will be sorted out, I promise." Then he turned back to Evelyn and his tone sharpened. "I suggest a thorough search of your room. I'm sure the bracelet will be found there. Perhaps it fell behind the dressing table, slid under the bed, or is caught in the folds of the bedding. These things happen more often than you think. But if the bracelet truly isn't there, and you continue to humiliate my wife publicly without any proof, my lawyers will be very interested in filing a suit for libel and emotional damages. I think the compensation amount will be an unpleasant surprise for you." Mr. Peterson cleared his throat, his face going from red to a deep crimson. "Of course, Mr. Brooks, we will check everything immediately. Ms. Evelyn, please, let's go to your room and calmly sort this out. I'm sure it's all a misunderstanding, just a misunderstanding." Evelyn pressed her lips together. For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty crossed her face. She glanced from Adam to Megan and back again, and something in his unwavering confidence made her hesitate. "All right," she said through her teeth. "But if I'm right, then we will apologize and compensate you for the inconvenience," Adam interrupted calmly. "And if you are wrong, I hope you will do the same." Evelyn snorted, turned on her heels, and headed for the elevators. Mr. Peterson hurried after her, muttering apologies and assurances. The crowd began to disperse. The performance was over, and the onlookers' curiosity waned. Megan remained rooted to the spot. Her legs felt glued to the floor. Her heart was still racing, her breathing ragged, an endless bustle of the big city. Megan sat across from him, still trying to take it all in. Her hands trembled as she lifted the cappuccino Adam had ordered without asking her. Oddly, he had guessed right. Cappuccino with a sprinkle of cinnamon was her little weekly indulgence on especially hard days. They sat in silence for a few minutes. Adam sipped his espresso, staring out the window as if giving her time to compose herself. Finally, Megan could no longer hold back. "Thank you," she said quietly, a tremor she could not control in her voice. "I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't stepped in. I could have been fired. Or worse, the police could have been called, and then..." She didn't finish. The implication was clear. A criminal record would mean the end. No work, no way to help her mother, no future. Adam looked at her with such sincerity that something inside her tightened. "You didn't do anything wrong. The truth would have come out sooner or later. I just sped things up and spared you the humiliation you don't deserve." "But why?" Megan exhaled, leaning forward. "You don't know me. I'm nobody to you, just a maid. Why risk your reputation?" Adam smiled, not cruelly but with a kind of sad understanding. "My mother worked as a cleaner in a school for 30 years. She got up at 5 in the morning every day, mopping floors and cleaning bathrooms. Do you know what I remember? The one time she was accused of stealing money from the teacher's lounge. The principal made a public scene, called all the teachers together, and forced her to turn out her bag and pockets in front of everyone. I was in 8th grade then. I stood in the hallway and watched her cry. The money was found 2 days later. It had fallen behind a cupboard. But my mother never received an apology. He fell silent, jaw clenched, and Megan saw a painful flicker in his eyes, an old wound that had never healed. Since then, he continued more quietly. I promised myself that if I ever saw someone treated unfairly, especially someone who couldn't defend themselves, I would step in. No matter who they are. I owe it to my mother's memory. To all the women. Suitcase and a dream of a better life. About her mother, Mary, who stayed there alone waiting for her rare visits. About her wish to one day open her own small cleaning service where people would be treated with respect. Adam listened carefully, without interrupting. There wasn't even a hint of condescension in his eyes. Then Megan suddenly glanced at her watch and gasped, "Oh God, it's been almost an hour. I need to get back to work, or they'll deduct it from my pay, and I can't afford that." "No one's deducting anything," Adam said calmly, his confidence so steady that she almost believed him. "But I understand. Just let me give you something before you go." He reached into the inside pocket of his jacket and handed her a business card. Thick, elegant paper, embossed letters. Adam Brooks, CEO, Brooks & Partners Construction. Below the name were a phone number and an email address. "If you ever need anything, a job, advice, whatever, call me. Anytime." "I mean it." Megan took the card, her fingers trembling. "I don't know if I can. It feels like too much." "The offer stands," Adam said with a soft smile. "Whether you use it or not is your choice. But just know, it's always open." They stood up from the table. Adam lightly touched her shoulder, a brief, almost imperceptible gesture, yet warmth rushed through her skin. "Take care of yourself, Megan." She nodded, unable to find words, and walked back toward her cart, her uniform, her ordinary life. But she gripped the business card so tightly her fingers turned white. When Megan returned to the staff room, her co-workers immediately surrounded her. News of what had happened in the lobby had spread through the hotel faster than the internet. "Megan, is it true? Did someone really accuse you of stealing?" gasped Katie, her friend and co-worker, short, round-faced, with a messy ponytail and kind eyes. "And who was that guy?" asked Laura, a tall woman with sharp features and curious eyes. "People say he called you his wife. Are you two really married?" blurted out Lily, the youngest on the team. "Why didn't you tell us?" "He's Adam Brooks. I Googled him. He owns a construction empire." The questions poured in, one didn't stop. Megan could feel them on her back. Curiosity, envy, disbelief. Her familiar world, where she was just Megan, a good worker and a quiet girl from the suburbs, had suddenly cracked, and through that crack something strange and frightening had entered. That evening, back in her small, one-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, Megan stood by the window, looking out at the gray buildings, the dim streetlights, and the few passers-by. This was her world, simple, predictable, safe. Here, she knew the rules. She took Adam's card from her pocket and stared at it for a long time. Part of her wanted to throw it into the trash and forget everything, to go back to her routine life where there were no miracles or surprises, where everything made sense. But another part, quiet, barely audible yet persistent, whispered, What if this day wasn't just a coincidence but a sign? What if the universe was finally giving her a chance at something more? What if she deserved not just to survive, but to live? Megan placed the card in her dresser drawer next to a photo of her mother. Not to throw it away, but not to use it either, not yet. And at the end of this story, you'll see why. Sometimes, a single moment of courage can change an entire life. Stay until the end. You won't regret it. 3 weeks passed in a blur. Megan tried to forget that day at the hotel and return to her routine, waking up at 5, an hour on the subway, 8 hours cleaning rooms, another ride back, home, sleep. The circle had closed again. But Adam wouldn't leave her thoughts. It wasn't love, at least, that's what she told herself. It was something deeper, subtler. Admiration? Gratitude? Or that strange feeling of recognition when you meet someone and realize they've known the same kind of pain as you. They know what it's like to be invisible. Every evening she took out his business card, turned it in her hands, read his name over and over, but never had the courage to dial the number. What would she even say? "Hello, I'm the maid you saved. I just wanted to talk." Ridiculous. So, when one Thursday during her lunch break— "Fine," she whispered. "Just unexpected." "I know this will sound strange," Adam began, taking a breath as if steadying himself. "But I'd like to ask you for a favor. My company is hosting a business dinner this Friday. There'll be investors, major clients, partners. Usually I attend these events with someone, but right now I'm alone, and I thought of you." Megan nearly dropped the phone again. "You want me to go with you to a business dinner?" she repeated, unable to believe her ears. "Why? I don't understand." "Because at those events you need someone real beside you," he replied calmly. "They're full of fake smiles and empty talk. When I met you, I saw someone with genuine dignity, someone who doesn't pretend. And that's exactly the kind of person I want next to me." He paused, then added more quietly, "And after I called you my wife at the hotel, I thought, maybe for just one night, that lie could be a little less of a lie." Megan sat frozen, trying to process his words. It was madness, pure madness. She, a simple housekeeper from Brooklyn, among wealthy businessmen and their wives in glittering dresses and jewelry. Like Cinderella going to the ball, but without the fairy godmother or the carriage. "Adam, I don't know anything about those dinners," she stammered, her voice trembling. "I don't even have anything to wear. I wouldn't know how to act around those people, which fork to use, what to say. I'll embarrass you." "I'll help with everything," he interrupted gently. "Clothes, preparation, whatever you need." "Megan, this isn't about appearances. It's about having someone beside me who reminds me why I do what I do. Someone who keeps me grounded, who helps me stay human when business tries to turn me into a machine." She bit her lip. Inside, a war raged. The rational part screamed, "Say no, it's a trap. He's using you." But another voice, the one buried deep inside after years of surviving and being invisible, whispered, "Say yes. This is your chance to see what your life could be. Will you pay me for the evening?" she asked softly, cheeks burning with shame. But she had to be practical. "I'll have to miss my night shift, and I need the money." "Of course." Windows. The driver, a man in his 50s wearing a crisp black suit, nodded politely and handed her a large box tied with a satin ribbon. "For you, Ms. Megan, from Mr. Brooks." Inside the box, on soft white tissue paper, lay a note. "Wear this. I'll pick you up at 7. Adam." Beneath it, a dark blue dress, not flashy or loud but incredibly elegant. A modest neckline, hem just below the knee, soft fabric that flowed through her fingers like water. Next to it were a pair of low black heels and a small clutch bag. Megan stood in the middle of her tiny apartment, speechless, holding the dress in front of her. It was too much, too beautiful, too expensive. She was almost afraid to try it on. But when she did, it fit perfectly, as if it had been made just for her. Mrs. Brown, Megan's elderly neighbor from the 3rd floor who had once worked as a theater costume designer, helped her with her hair and makeup. She pinned Megan's long, light brown hair into an elegant low bun and brushed a touch of pink lipstick onto her lips, adding just enough mascara to make her eyes shine. When Megan looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Not a housekeeper, not someone invisible, just a woman. A beautiful woman. Exactly at 7, the doorbell rang. Her hands trembling, she grabbed her purse and opened the door. Adam stood there, in a dark gray suit, crisp white shirt, and the subtle scent of expensive cologne. He froze for a moment when he saw her, and something flickered in his eyes that made Megan's heart skip a beat. "You look incredible," he said, and the sincerity in his voice made her cheeks flush. "Thank you. And for the dress, it's too much," she murmured, lowering her gaze. "It's perfect," he replied softly, extending his hand. "Ready?" She placed her hand in his, feeling its warmth and steadiness. "Not sure, but I'll try." "That's all you need to do," Adam smiled. They went downstairs to the car. The driver, Mr. Reed, opened the door, and Megan sat in a car like that for the first time. Soft leather seats, quiet classical music, the faint scent of new luxury. She barely dared to move, afraid to room. Located in the Upper East Side, and the very name of the district sent a shiver through Megan. This was where the people she'd only ever seen on TV lived, the kind who made the news. She had never set foot there before. When they entered, a waiter in a spotless vest and bow tie led them to a private room. High ceilings, crystal chandeliers, heavy velvet curtains. Tables draped in white linens, fresh flowers, silver candle holders with lit candles. The menu, embossed in gold, was entirely in French. Megan felt as though she had stumbled into someone else's wedding by mistake. At the table sat several people already, men in expensive suits, women in evening gowns adorned with jewelry worth more than her entire apartment. All heads turned when Adam and Megan entered. "Brooks, finally!" exclaimed a gray-haired man in his 60s, rising from the table. "We thought you'd forgotten about us." "Mr. Harris, how could I forget such an important partner?" Adam smiled, shaking his hand. Then he turned to Megan. "Allow me to introduce Megan." He didn't explain who she was to him, and Megan was grateful for that. Just Megan. Not his wife, not his date, not his guest. Simply her name. "A pleasure," said Mr. Harris, gallantly kissing her hand. Megan barely held back an embarrassed smile. They sat down. Adam took the seat beside her, his presence steadying her nerves. Throughout the evening, various people came by to greet them. Businessmen, investors, even a well-known architect whose name Megan recognized from television. Whenever someone asked who she was, Adam answered simply, "Megan is one of the most honest and hard-working people I know." No further details, no explanations. And strangely, that was enough. Megan noticed something else too. Adam treated everyone the same way, with respect. When a waiter brought the wine, Adam looked him in the eye and said thank you. When a young assistant nearly tripped with a tray, Adam was the first to ask if he was all right. It set him apart from the others at the table, who treated the staff as part of the decor, invisible, unimportant. Midway through dinner, Mr. Harris leaned toward Adam and said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Brooks, where have you been hiding such a lovely companion? Playgrounds for children? And park areas?" Everyone at the table turned to look at her. Megan froze, afraid she had said something wrong, but Adam gave her a gentle nod. "Go on," he encouraged. "It's just, I grew up in a neighborhood like that," she said quietly, where buildings were put up fast and cheap, and no one thought about the people living in them. There was nowhere for kids to play, nowhere for the elderly to sit and talk. People felt like they were just functions, not human beings who need beauty and space. Silence fell. Megan lowered her eyes, certain she had just embarrassed herself. But Mr. Harris nodded thoughtfully. "She's right. We often forget that we're not just building boxes. We're building homes for real people. Brooks, you've got a smart companion." Adam looked at Megan, pride glowing in his eyes, warming her from the inside out. "I know," he said simply. When dinner finally ended and they stepped outside, Megan felt exhausted, but strangely alive. It was an evening out of another life. Beautiful, bright, full of meaning. In the car, she leaned back against the seat and closed her eyes. "Thank you for inviting me," she said softly. "It was incredible." "Thank you for coming," Adam replied. "You made the evening different, lighter, more honest." They rode in silence, but it wasn't awkward. It was warm, comfortable. When the car stopped in front of her building, Megan opened the door but hesitated. "Adam, why did you do all this? And don't say it's just politeness. It's more than that, isn't it?" He looked at her for a long moment, and for the first time she saw vulnerability in his eyes. Something raw, unguarded. "Because it's been a long time since I had anyone around who reminded me who I really am. Someone who makes me want to be better." He paused, his voice softer. "After my mother died, I forgot what it felt like to have sincerity close by. But with you, I feel it again." Megan felt her heart tighten. She reached out and placed her hand over his, just for a second, but it was enough. "Thank you for being honest," she whispered. Then she got out of the car and walked toward her building. Maids whispered behind her back, shooting her sideways glances as she passed. Some were envious, others spiteful, waiting for the whole thing to blow up into a scandal. The worst was Katie. The one person Megan had thought was her friend became colder, more distant with each passing day. One afternoon during lunch break, Katie set her phone down in front of Megan, the screen showing a news article. "Seen this?" On it was a photo of Adam leaving a building, surrounded by people in business suits. The headline read, "Adam Brooks spotted with a mystery woman. Who is she?" Megan went cold. "Congratulations, you're famous," Katie said dryly, though there was no humor in her tone. "Everyone's wondering who the mystery woman is. Lucky you." "Katie, I didn't ask for any of this." "Of course you didn't," she cut her off, crossing her arms. "Megan, wake up. Men like him don't befriend women like us. This is a game for him. Entertainment. He wants something from you. You just don't know what yet. And when he gets it, he'll toss you aside like a used napkin." The words stabbed like knives. Megan wanted to argue, but her voice caught in her throat. "He needs someone real," she said quietly. "That's what he told me." "Real?" Katie scoffed. "Come on, Megan. He's got an empire, connections, money. You think he's going to respect you? You're his project, saving a poor working girl to feel noble about himself. When he gets bored, he'll move on to someone new." Megan stood up, feeling the burn rise inside her. "Maybe you're just jealous," she snapped. "Jealous that someone saw a person in me, not just a maid." Katie's face went pale, but she said nothing. Megan grabbed her bag and stormed out of the break room, her eyes stinging with tears. Maybe Katie was right. Maybe Megan had been fooling herself, imagining something that wasn't there. Those thoughts haunted her all week, until Saturday, when she finally decided to talk to Adam face to face. They met at the same cafe near the Central Park area, where it had all begun. Megan waited until he sat down, ordered coffee, and only then gathered the courage to look him in the eyes. Paused, searching for words. "For the past 10 years since my business took off, I've been surrounded by people who only want something from me. Contracts, money, influence, status. Even the women I dated always wanted something, a proposal, gifts, appearances at events. I stopped being a person. I became a function, a wallet, a tool." He looked into her eyes, and she saw the pain there. "But with you, it's different. You don't ask me for anything. You don't try to impress me or act like someone you're not. When we talk, you see me. Not the company owner, not the millionaire. Just a man. And I haven't felt that way in a very long time." Megan felt her throat tighten. "There are rumors at the hotel," she said quietly. Everyone's talking about us. They say you're using me, or that I'm using you. My friend said you're just playing some kind of game. And does that bother you? He asked. Yes, she admitted, because I don't understand what we are. Friends? Something more? I'm afraid to lie to myself, to hope for something that might fall apart. Adam reached across the table and placed his hand over hers. I don't know exactly what we are, not yet. But I know I feel good when I'm with you. You make me think, laugh, feel. And I don't want to stop. I want to see where this takes us. He squeezed her hand gently. If you're scared, I understand. If you tell me to leave, I will, and I won't insist. But I want to stay close to you. Honestly. Megan looked down at his hand, strong, slightly rough, calloused. Not what she imagined a rich man's hand would be like. A working man's hand, a real one. I want to try too, she whispered. But I'm scared. Then we'll be scared together, Adam smiled. Just then, Adam's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his expression immediately changed, serious, almost tense. Sorry, this is important. It's from the office, he said and stepped away from the table. Megan watched him through the cafe window. His posture had changed, his shoulders tensed, his jaw clenched. His voice was low. Was happening. She was falling in love with Adam Brooks, and she didn't know whether it would end in happiness or heartbreak. 3 days, 3 endless days, and not a single call or message from him. Megan tried not to panic, telling herself he was busy, that he had important things to deal with. But with every hour, the anxiety grew heavier, tightening around her chest. Maybe he had changed his mind, realized she was a mistake, that getting involved with a maid was foolish. The answer came unexpectedly. Katie burst into the staff room, waving a newspaper. Have you seen today's news? She threw it on the table, and Megan felt her stomach drop. Brooks and Partners Construction under investigation. Fraud allegations in government contracting. Below the headline was a photo of Adam leaving the courthouse, pale, exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, as if he hadn't slept in days. Megan read the article with shaking hands. It spoke of millions in missing funds, forged documents, corruption. His name repeated again and again as the main suspect. Well, here's your perfect gentleman, Katie said dryly, folding her arms. Turns out he's not as clean as you thought. Just another crook in an expensive suit. This can't be true, Megan whispered, clutching the newspaper. He's not like that. Or maybe you just don't know him, Katie said coldly. Wake up, Megan. They're all the same. You don't get rich by playing fair. Megan didn't answer. She grabbed her phone and for the first time called Adam herself. Rings. 1, 2, 3. She thought he wouldn't answer, but on the 5th ring she heard his voice, hoarse, tired, heavy. Megan. I saw the news, she blurted out. Adam, what's happening? It's true. They're accusing me, he said after a deep breath. But not the way they're writing about it. Not like that. Please, let me explain. In person, not over the phone. Where are you? At the office. I've been here for 3 days trying to fix this mess. If you want to come, give me the address, Megan said firmly. She took all her small savings, her rainy day money, won a government bid to build a hospital in the New Jersey suburbs. A big project, hundreds of jobs, medical help for thousands of people. I was proud of it. He clenched his fists. 2 months ago, I discovered my business partner, Mark Davis, had been stealing money. He inflated budgets, forged documents, funneled part of the funds into his personal accounts. When I confronted him, he told me that's how everyone does business, that I was naive if I thought it could be done any other way. What did you do? She asked quietly. I fired him on the spot, gathered all the evidence and turned it over to the authorities. I thought I was doing the right thing, Adam said bitterly. But he was smarter, or rather, better connected. He has lawyers, influence, people in the right places. He shifted everything onto me, claimed I was the mastermind and he was just following my orders. Megan listened, her chest tightening with pain for him. That's why it's all over the news. Adam continued. I'm trying to prove my innocence, but it's hard. The damage is done. My reputation's destroyed. Clients are leaving, partners are backing out of contracts. Even if I'm cleared, the company may not survive. He looked at her and there was so much pain in his eyes that she couldn't bear it. You're paying the price for honesty, she whispered. Yes, he nodded. My mom always told me, the one thing no one can take from you is your integrity. I couldn't watch them steal money meant for sick people. I just couldn't. Megan stepped forward and hugged him, for the first time on her own initiative. I'm so sorry, she whispered, pressing her cheek against his chest. Adam held her tightly, his face buried in her hair. She felt his shoulders tremble. I'm scared of losing everything, he murmured. The company, my reputation, and you. I'm afraid you'll walk away. Who would want a ruined businessman under investigation? You won't lose me, Megan said softly, looking into his eyes. You did the right thing, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. Adam cupped her face in his hands and kissed her. The kiss was desperate embrace. In the following weeks, Megan stayed by his side. She came to his office after her shifts, brought him food when he forgot to eat, and sat quietly on the couch while he went through endless documents with his lawyers. Sometimes, she simply held his hand when he looked ready to collapse. Eventually, she quit her job at the hotel. The gossip and stares had become unbearable. Katie stopped speaking to her altogether. But Megan didn't care anymore. She had a purpose now, to stand by the man who had once stood up for her. One night, when the office had emptied out and only the two of them remained, Adam looked up from the pile of papers on his desk. Why are you doing all this? He asked quietly. You've given up your job, your time, even your reputation. For me? Megan, sitting on the couch with a book in her hands, lifted her gaze. Because when someone's in a storm, she said softly, you don't ask if they deserve help. You just take their hand and walk through it together. That day at the hotel, you did that for me. Now it's my turn. Adam felt his eyes sting. No one, not since his mother, had ever stood by him like this, asking for nothing in return, simply out of love. And in that moment he realized it. He was completely, hopelessly, in love with Megan. 2 more agonizing months passed. The investigation dragged on like hardened tar. Each day brought new interrogations, audits, and reports. Adam barely slept. His lawyers worked around the clock, and Megan held his hand when he felt he couldn't go on. Then, one gray October afternoon, when New York City drowned in rain and fog, the news finally came. Adam was sitting in his half-empty office. Half his staff had already left, unable to bear the pressure, when his attorney called. Mr. Brooks, I have good news. The investigators found independent witnesses, accountants who worked for Mark Davis. They've agreed to testify. They confirmed that Davis ran the entire scheme and you were trying to stop him. They even found emails where he planned to pin everything on you. The case against you is being closed. Completely. Adam froze, barely believing what he'd heard, only a shadow of what it once had been. One morning, a week after his exoneration, Adam sat in Megan's small apartment in Brooklyn. The tiny one-bedroom with peeling wallpaper and creaky floors that now felt more like home than his luxury suite ever had. They were drinking coffee at the little kitchen table that barely fit two. "I'll have to start over," Adam said, gazing out the window at the rows of gray apartment blocks. "The company's still afloat, but rebuilding our reputation will take years. I'll have to take small projects, brick by brick, and work my way back up. It's going to be tough." Megan looked at him over her cup. "And you're not scared?" "No," he said, surprised at his own answer. "Strangely, no. Actually, I feel lighter. I've realized I've been measuring success the wrong way all these years, by money, scale, and the number of zeros in my bank account. I forgot what really matters." "And what matters?" she asked softly. "Honest work. Good people by your side. Going to bed each night with a clear conscience. Knowing you've made the world just a little better," he said, taking her hand. "And you. You matter more than any contract or project. I couldn't have made it without you." Megan smiled, though a flicker of hesitation crossed her eyes. "Adam, I have to tell you something. I quit the hotel." "What? When? Because of the gossip?" "Partly, but mostly. I decided to try something of my own." She straightened, her voice filled with quiet determination. "Remember I told you I dreamed of opening my own cleaning company? A place where people are respected, paid fairly, and treated well. Where being a cleaner isn't shameful, but something to be proud of." A wave of pride rose inside him. "Megan, that's incredible. I've saved a little money. Not much, but enough to start. I've already hired 3 women from the hotel. They were tired of the same mistreatment," she said, hesitating for a moment. "Could you maybe help me? Not with money, just advice. How to set up the paperwork, how to find clients." With pay and understanding, and it worked. People noticed the difference when the cleaning was done not by exhausted, bitter workers, but by those who took pride in what they did. Adam's company slowly began to come back to life. It wasn't the vast empire it once had been, but it was honest, transparent, and real. He focused on socially important projects: schools, clinics, housing for young families. Not the most profitable work, but the kind that truly mattered. One Saturday morning, when New York City basked in rare spring sunshine, Adam called Megan. "Dress nicely," he said. "I'll pick you up in an hour. I have a surprise for you." "What kind of surprise?" she laughed. "Another business dinner?" "You'll see," he replied mysteriously. When the car stopped, Megan didn't recognize the place at first, and then she did. It was the Imperial Hotel, the very place where it had all begun. "Why are we here?" she asked, confused. Adam took her hand and led her inside, into the grand hall where, 6 months earlier, she had been publicly humiliated. People were already gathered. She recognized Mr. Peterson, a few familiar maids, and several administrators. "What's happening?" she whispered. Adam turned to the group. "Thank you all for coming. I wanted to share some news. I've purchased the controlling shares of the Imperial Hotel, and I plan to make some changes." A ripple of murmurs swept through the hall. "Effective immediately, a 30% pay raise for all staff, better working conditions, training programs, full benefits, and above all, respect. Respect for everyone, no matter their position," he said, glancing around the room. "Because the people who make this hotel clean and welcoming deserve just as much respect as the ones who stay here." Then he turned to Megan. "And I want you by my side, because it all started with you. You reminded me what truly matters, that a person's worth isn't measured by their job title or bank account." Tears welled up in Megan's eyes. She looked around the hall. On the faces of many of her former co-workers, she saw something she hadn't seen in a long time. Hope. You build something real with you, that the key to my heart belongs to you. And when you're ready, when you feel the time is right, I'll ask the real question. Tears streamed down Megan's cheeks as she took the necklace with trembling hands. Put it on me, she whispered through her tears. Adam clasped the necklace around her neck. Megan ran her fingers over the small silver key, and smiling through her tears, looked into his eyes. I love you, Adam Brooks. I love you for seeing the person in me, for being brave enough to stay honest in a world full of lies, for reminding me that we deserve more than just survival. And I love you, Megan, Adam said softly, for showing me that real wealth isn't in money. It's in the people who stay when everything falls apart. They kissed right there on the sidewalk, under the hum of the big indifferent city, surrounded by strangers rushing past. Two hearts that had met in the most unexpected moment, and had walked through the storm to find each other, because the true value of a person isn't in what they own, but in how they treat those who have nothing to give in return. If this story touched your heart, if you believe that dignity and honesty still matter in our world, click the Super Thanks button, the little heart with a $sign below the video. Every time you do, you help us create more stories that inspire, that remind us. Every person deserves respect, no matter their job or status. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this story. Tell us in the comments. Which moment moved you the most? Was it the scene at the hotel, when Adam first stood up for Megan? Or when she supported him during his darkest days? Or maybe the ending, where love overcame every obstacle? Subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell, so you don't miss new stories about people who choose honesty, even when it comes at a price. And before you go, watch the story we've left for you on screen. We're sure it will make you reflect on what truly matters in life, and maybe even change how you see the people around you. See you in the next story.